One of our panelists has a huge crush on you, so I have to say that. So, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. This back in the UK for a week, spending some time with the family that I hadn't seen in a long time, and then I fly over to New Zealand on Sunday to spend a couple of weeks relaxing.
Go back to your old stomping ground.
Yeah, that's right. That's home. That's home. So back there to relax.
So, how has this whole season been? I'll ask you in a holistic way before we get into specifics. How has this season been? Sort of, you had the COVID issues in the middle, you had the bubble, and then you had to go to another bubble, the AFC Champions League. So how was the whole thing?
Yeah, I spoke to the players when we were away at the Champions League, and I spoke about a good film or a good book. And a good film or a good book has a good start. It's okay middle and a good end, but people generally remember the start and the end of a good film. So to answer your question in that space, I think we had a really good start, really good way that we played. Obviously, the results went very well, very enjoyable, and we had a very good end. The Champions League being that end for us. So we had a bit of a dip in the middle, but otherwise, in context of it being a different. Very different group from the year before, different staff group, in a bubble. It was, a good start and a good end is how I would wrap it up for you.
So let's start with the end now. Champions League performance, going in, you said you wanted one win. You got 2 wins, you finished second in the group stage. Outstanding results as far as Indian football is concerned, way beyond what most of us actually thought also. So how does the whole thing feel? How was the challenge of going for the Champions League?
Yeah, it was for me, it was exciting. I didn't want to, and I said this to the group, I didn't want to change our approach. I didn't want to go and sit back and defend. I didn't want to try not to lose games. I wanted to go and my comment was, want to be the first team from India to win a game in the Champions League. I never said one. My feeling was if we could get one, we could certainly go on and do a little bit more. So to get that one in the second game, it gave us 4 more opportunities to go and see what we could do as on top of that. And that was the exciting bit for me. So how did it feel, or how does it feel? I said afterwards in the press conference after the last game in 16 days or 19 days, it was just proud. Hugely proud of what the players had just gone to do, not just in terms of the points that they'd amassed, not in terms of them finishing second in the group, but in terms of how they'd actually gone about playing and trying to showcase what we could do on that stage. Because we didn't want to just go there and compete. Like I said, we wanted to go there and win. But the way they went about performing during those results, that's something I was hugely proud of.
So going into the thing, I'll be very honest here. Going into the AFC Champions League, I thought Mumbai not in great form. Last year it looked like Goa before going in. They have had a good run in the league. They almost took Mumbai to the penalties before getting knocked out in the playoffs, and they were more settled in some ways. You had few additions in the January window and stuff like that. I was not really expecting such a strong performance, and so I have to say, hold my hand up and be very happy that I was wrong. And at the same time, that team that you beat, Al Jawiya, that I was there in Qatar when BFC played them in the AFC Cup final. That was in the middle of their dominant run, that 3 years that they won the AFC Cup. Did you think that was the game that you could, get the result and then you can probably push forward?
We felt, before we got to Saudi Arabia, we had a 2-week camp in Abu Dhabi, and during that camp, unfortunately, we lost our leading goal scorer. So Igor Angulo picked up a calf injury, which we knew was going to keep him out for at least 3 weeks. So it gave us a chance to actually work on a couple of different things over a 2-week period that I felt would be very useful to us in the Champions League. We played 2 friendlies while we were in Abu Dhabi, and one of those was against Al Ain. And the reason for that, we got a result. We beat them 2-1, and we actually played very well. But that for me was a very important game because it allowed the players go, the players haven't got any experience of playing against these teams yet, because it's only the second time. So give the players an opportunity to test themselves against what they knew they were going to come up against. And coming away with the result, coming away with the performance that they certainly put in, it was very similar to, a lot of the games you would have watched in the 6 group games. That provided a lot of confidence that they were able to not just compete, but compete and win. So, there wasn't one team that we looked at in that group and felt that, was going to be easier than the other. They're all extremely good teams in their own right. But what it did do, that camp, it gave us the ability to know that we could go and compete and we could go and win across those 6 games.
Rahul Beke, I spoke to him after the second game and he scored the winner. He said that camp was a massive confidence boost. And he was talking about how you were working especially on the team shape and a few other details. So what did you change from ISL to the Champions League when you were going? Is it the intensity?
No, I mean, we changed a couple of things. So look at the first game that we played against Shabab. We didn't play with a centre forward. We played with almost a false 9 or a box midfield where we played Casio because you can only play the 3 foreign players. So we had to pick on who we were going to play. So we looked at some shape and that we showed a bit of that against Shabab. That allowed us to get a bit more work into Diego because Diego, with Igor being out, was going to become is very important to us at the time because he was the one that was going to score the goals. And then in the second game, again, we changed it. We moved people like Chante into a more central role. And that really helped. That helped in possession because he's a little bit more creative in that space, but also out of possession, the work rate of him, Bipin and Vikram, when we didn't have the ball, we knew we weren't going to have the ball for massive periods of time. We had it for a lot, but not as much as we do in the ISL. But we still wanted to go and put some pressure on teams, and having those 3 allowed us to do that across the front. So we played with a couple of, we set up 4 different ways across the 6 different games, but that was largely down to the work that had been done in that 2-week camp in Abu Dhabi.
So let's now talk about the ISL, the league itself. How would you said started really strong, had a dip in the middle. How would you categorize that season that you had here?
Yeah, I think when I said at the start of the season, I said all the way through, it was always going to be a challenge because it was a very different team that took to the field in game 1 that finished the season the year before. You look at the likes of the goalkeeper, the centre-back, Bumas, Lafondra, Ibat, who went on to have a wonderful season. There were 5 starting players that were successful in the double winning team from the year before. So when you lose those 5 players, you don't just lose their qualities, you lose the experience of those players as well in a group. And that's a big change. That's half of your team. The recruitment for those positions was good. We got some very good players in. But again, when you change that much, especially with a new staff group on top, I think sometimes it takes some time. And we got off to a wonderful start. We got off to a really good start. We won 5 of the 6 games that we started with. We sat top of the league at Christmas. And then, we picked up a result against, I think it was Kerala. And then we lost Matada Fall that game. And then the game after, we lost Jahul. So there was a 2 or 3 game period where we fell into a little bit of a performance. We didn't get the results that we wanted. And it took us a little while to get out. And we didn't quite get out quick enough, which was unfortunate. But a lot of learnings to take away. And ones that I already feel we've learned from, and we've started to show that in the ACL, and ones that will set us up very well for next season. So
also, how difficult was that COVID break in between? Because for a while it looked like from the outside, I sort of lost interest in the league there a little bit personally, because it felt like it was not fair. I know nobody can do anything about it, but it felt like some teams are asked to play, some teams not asked to play, and then there was a break, and obviously you're all worried about who has COVID and this test results and everything. So how was that period to deal with as a coach?
It was very difficult, and I mean, I can only speak for our club, but when you're in that environment, small things can turn into big things because you don't get the ability to walk out of a complex and have a break and get away from people. Everything is geared up around training and games. So when you prepare over a 3 or 4 day period to play a game, and then all of a sudden it's called off, but you're ready to go, it's very the players almost need that release that they would have got from the game and what you've been working towards. And I mean, we had maybe 2 or 3 of those in the middle of that season, which, yeah, whether it was disruptive or it wasn't, the main thing was we tried to keep it out of our bubble as much as we could. And thankfully, we almost managed to do that. So, yeah, a little bit disruptive, but one of the additional challenges to, you know, obviously living that bubble life that we had to for 6 months whilst in Goa.
So can I also ask you about the goalkeeping situation? It seemed like Nawaz started in the beginning, then obviously you went with Purba, played in the Champions League also. So that switch, what made you change that?
Yeah, they're both very young goalkeepers. You know, Naz is only 21. Had a great season last year, and that was the reason the club signed him. And Fuba has been very patient. You know, he's 24, but had a great deal of experience at ISL level. So when, you know, it's the same as an outfield player. When players are performing, they play. And then there's times where, as a coach, you may look and say that this needs a change, whether it's the player needs a chance to come out and another one deserves a chance to go in. So we made that decision with Fuba, I think it was round 14 or 15. And the unfortunate thing for Fuba then, he played, I think, 1 or 2 games, and he actually he got COVID himself. So it was that time period where he played 2 games, we had 2 games called off, and then he got COVID. So he was away for 3 or 4 of those games. So Naz come back in and played very well. And you know, although Fuba was then available, as we said to all of the players, they have opportunities to perform. If they perform, they continue. And that's why we kept Naz in. And then at the end of the season, I thought it was an opportunity for Fuba to play again. He'd worked extremely hard and done very well. So he finished the season and performed well. So it just felt right that going into the Champions League that we persisted and went with Fuba of the 5 games. But the real pleasing thing was how well the 2 of them work and how well they work together. And I can say that because Fuba was suspended for the 3rd game and Naz came in and played, you know, I think he picked up man of the match. So that says a lot about him as a person. It says a lot about the 2 of them together. So when you have 2 very good young goalkeepers in the group, you need to give them opportunities. And I've been very happy with both of them.
So the last time we did this, I asked you about Indian football and stuff like that. And you were just starting to, I think it was early on in the season. Now you've done the whole season. What do you make of football in India? I mean, the level of football in India, I should say.
Yeah, again, it's still a difficult one to answer. I actually really enjoyed the season. I think across the teams in the league, there are so many different styles of football across those teams. It's actually really exciting to set yourself up against the different styles that you do come up against, because there's not one team that's the same as the other in this league. And that's whether that's formation, whether that's how they play, their philosophies. So that's been the biggest noticeable thing. When I compare it to the other leagues that I've worked in the world, there was a lot of variety in terms of how teams went about playing in the ISL. And the other was simply down to, I think, mistake. There's just a mistake, the amount of mistake. If you make a mistake in the ISL, it generally ends up in a goal, whereas in other leagues, maybe not so much. So, but the biggest thing was the difference of playing styles across all the teams in the league. That's the biggest takeaway I've certainly taken from this year.
How hard was it for you also to get your point across? Maybe because a lot of the Indian players probably are not as experienced. Like a 24-year-old English players probably played maybe double the games. So how hard was it for you to explain footballing situations, the language barrier, and all of those?
Yeah, and that's where the bubble itself, it was very good. You know, we tried to make as much use of the time that we had together. So to go back to what I said to you the last time we spoke, we've got a way that we want to play. Within that, we have player profiles and we recruit and we judge players' performance off of those player profiles. So if you're a winger, this is what we would like from you and what we expect. And from that player profile, we have development plans. And the development plans look at where do we feel the player is now in relation to the profile, and what areas do we feel are going to be important for him to work on to get better. So we worked a lot with the players during that time. And what was the second part, sorry?
Also the language barrier, because you worked in English-speaking countries last year, before.
That's where, for me, it was about football. You can try and make football as complicated as you want, but the most important thing is, especially with language, you make the football's a simple game, or can be a simple game. You can complicate it too much, and I think that's been the learning for me this year, is just making sure that the message is very clear and the message is very simple. And when I say simple, I don't mean it doesn't have information. I mean it's simple and easy to understand. So the big thing we've spent time doing is we meet with the players on a regular basis, one-on-one. And that's the players spending time, not just with me, but I involve our assistant coach, Tony Fernandez. So it gives the player an opportunity, if they don't understand things, to also ask. Because what I have found is players sometimes, they like to be told what to do, but they don't like sometimes to ask what they need to do. And having that time together with the players, you build those relationships where they do feel comfortable to speak with you, and speak with you openly about what they would like to do. If they don't understand something, they can actually share that with you without worrying it's going to cost them an opportunity. So yeah, so simplicity of language, simplicity of message, utilizing and using the staff set that you have around you, Tony in this instance with the players, and then spending time to build relationships with them where they actually feel comfortable with you to sit and speak as we are right now.
That's actually a very nice way to put it, simplicity. Because a lot of the time, like you said, I do think that sometimes we do make it complicated. Even us, we try to understand and we probably overthink a lot of things. Yeah, so I just wanted to ask you now, that's off season. It's going to be a really long off season. I think 2-3 months off. How are you dealing with that? I think it's quite novel for you also, right? To have such a long off season.
Yeah, it won't be too long for me. We got the players reporting back in on the 28th of July. So we'll be, and that may go a little bit sooner, but that won't be any later than that. So it's just under 3 months. They've all got their own plans that they're working towards and working on. And I think there's a few of them that will have obviously Indian national teams and camps and different things in between that. So I don't think there'll be many of them that will have too much time off. And then for me, it'll be a couple of weeks holiday, and then I'll start getting around, and I'll get into some environments, some football club environments, both back in the UK, over in Australia. I'll go into Melbourne City and just spend time again, making sure there's some work that I can be doing and continue learning. So that'll be me, whilst also driving a lot of the things that we're going to start implementing, and I've already started to do in preparation for next year as well.
So I'm going to try for a scoop here. I'm telling you that I'm going to try for a scoop right at the beginning. Are you already looking at signings? You can tell names if you want, but otherwise also it's fine. Are you looking at signings?
Yeah, we're looking at signings. We've been looking at signings for the last couple of months. So the work's been ongoing for a long period of time now. We didn't want to arrive at the end of the season and then start the process, because I think if you do that, you can get left behind or maybe miss the players that may have been available. So we started that process a couple of months ago. I've got nothing to announce to you right now, so sorry about that. But there's a lot of work going on in the background where we want to compete next year and compete for the league. We want to compete for the trophy at the end of the season. And recruitment's obviously every club's going to go through some small changes, and ours will be small. They won't be major. But again, for me, it's making sure we get back in on the 28th of July to prepare as well as we can for what will be maybe the Durand Cup and then the ISL season. And two, making sure that when we do report, that we have all of our players together from the start.
Yeah, so you did the AFC Champions League, and now going into next season, you obviously are going with a lot more confidence. The way you ended the season on an extreme high level football, and then you've done well there. How much is that going to play next year? I think that's probably going to be a big difference coming onto the field for the league next year.
Yeah, I said to the playing group, if they didn't, before we start the Champions League, I said, if you don't know me by now in terms of how I want to coach and how I would like our teams to play, that won't change next year. We want to go out. We want to be an attacking, exciting side to watch. There's a few learnings that we'll take and make sure that we correct for next year, to make sure, especially defensively, that we can't concede as many goals as we did in the last season. But in terms of what we want to do and how we want to approach it, we've shown that we can do that at the top level of Asia club competitions. So we want to take that into the ISL. But we must make sure that we have a good pre-season. We must make sure that we have the players that we want from the start. And if we can get that right, it'll be obviously a season I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, you just mentioned about playing attacking football. It seems to be the right, at least for this society and the culture that we are at the moment, that's the right kind of football to play. But what do you think of defensive football? Because I'm a big fan. I'm a Chelsea fan, so throughout the years, I've seen them largely being defensive and won the Champions League on a luck and a lot of defensive performance. So, what do you think? What is your take on defensive football? And please, you can't sit on the fence on this.
No, I won't. This is the one thing that I really enjoy, and I said about the ISL. This is one thing I really enjoy. Is there is no one way of doing anything. So what I do like about what we do, the club has a very clear idea on how we want to play. That's played a role, and I think in me coming to Mumbai, because as a coach, that's how I see the game, and that's how I want to play. But every other team in the league will have a different belief in how the game should be played, whether it's attack, it's defense, or it's a combination of both. And that for me is what is exciting. So defensive football, look, we went to the ACL and we didn't play the same game that we play in the ISL because we know we probably couldn't. But we didn't come away too far from our principles. We did defend a bit more than we do, well, a lot more than we do in the ISL. And we defended very well. But at the same time, we wanted to keep those core attacking principles in our game to let the players showcase what they can do. So, yes, for defensive football has its time and has its place. But as much as I can and as much as we can as a club, we want to play some really good, exciting attacking football whilst making sure defensively we pick our right times to shut up the shop at the other end as well.
So when you look at it, does it feel, is it harder to play against a team that is going to sit back and defend, or is it harder to play against a team who's just going to, attack you just like the way you want to play?
I think this is where recruitment is key. You must have the players within your squad to be able to use for those different games. So if a team wants to sit back and sit deep, that's fine. You have to find another way to break through. And for me, then I'll give you an example. You might have a player that's really quick, but maybe not so technically good. And just as an example, so the speed that they have would be very good for a team that maybe presses and leaves a lot of space in behind. For a team that sits deep, there's not going to be the space for them to use their speed. So have you got a more technical player that's going to be used in the small spaces? So for me, it's about the recruitment and having a variety of different players within your squad that regardless of the team you come up against, you have different ways of unlocking that defense.
Yeah, and I always wanted to ask this also about Ahmed Jahu. For me, when I look at him, he seems like the guy, when you get the ball to him, it's like the team can breathe. Everything sort of slows down a little bit, and then he starts the thing again. Playing with a player like him, what do you make of the kind of performance that he puts in? What kind of player do you feel like?
Yeah, for me, Jahul was certainly one of the best players in the league. And from the TV, and I know exactly what you mean when you say he slows it down. He's actually, it's when you watch good players, they look like they've got a lot more time than everyone else. And that's what it is with Jahul. He probably doesn't spend as much time on the ball as you may see, but what he does is he positions himself extremely well and he releases the ball when he needs to. So to work with him, he's been excellent this year, the same as Matada Falls. So what I'm really excited about, though, is we have some very good young players in our squad. And to give you an example of a young Apuya, for an Apuya to play alongside or with a Jaho or in a similar position, you won't find for his development, and for Apuya's development, to play alongside somebody and train along somebody like a Jaho or a Roland Borges that we have as well. Their development and how open Jaho is to sharing things and working with these young players, the same as a lot of the senior guys in our squad. That's what really excites me, because not only is he a good footballer and one of the best in the league, but his openness and willingness to engage, especially with those young players, is a fantastic tool for those young players to really develop their game.
Yeah, I agree. Apuya, I think, is one of the best midfielders in India, along Thapa and him. But I think he probably has different kind of traits to Thapa. So hopefully, like you said, he can develop and do great things for the national team as well. As we're winding it down, I wanted to ask you, next season, back in front of the fans, it looks like it's going to be, in front of the fans again. How excited are you to get back there and get football back to the people again?
I can't wait. Honestly, I really can't wait to get fans back in the stadium. But firstly, to get to Mumbai. I arrived and was employed by the club in September of last year, and haven't stepped foot in Mumbai since then. I arrived into Mumbai with the national team of New Zealand in 2018 for the Intercontinental Cup. So I've been to Mumbai, but not as the head coach. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I'm actually really looking forward to getting around the country for the away games, because when we were away at the Champions League, we had people travel from the Netherlands, from India. We even had fans in the stadium with Kerala Blaster shirts on, and they were there to support us as an Indian team away from obviously India. So we're representing the country. So I can't wait to get around and see. I mean, the messages of support that we had whilst we were away, and the message that we continue to still get now from fans from across all of the clubs that we had, was so welcomed, and I'm so thankful for the message for that. I can't wait to get around and actually see them in their stadiums, because I've seen a lot of the games in terms of when the stadiums are full, and I think it'll be a wonderful experience, not just for me but for the players as well, after 2 years of living in a bubble.
You think that will be affect their mindset in some ways, because you have to sort of recalibrate to getting bored by the away fans or getting cheered by the home fans, or the emotions of the game is heightened, right?
I think it is, but again, if they want to go on, and again, I'll go back to our younger players. If they want to go on and develop themselves and develop their football, they're hopefully going to play outside of India as well at some point. They have to get back used to playing in front of crowds and the experiences that brings. And I think it's exciting to be able to showcase what you can do in front of people live at the ground. There's not many better feelings than that, especially when things go well.
And how is reading up on Indian football and culture going?
I've got some papers that I'm going to spend the next couple of months reading. Now we have some time.
I've sent a bunch to Anuj. I don't know if you got it.
He sent them to me. I have all of them. So thank you for that.
No problem. So we're just winding it down. Anything you want to tell the fans? Anything about the season you had, the next season? The floor is yours.
Yeah, we started well, we finished well, and now next season it's about making sure that we have that middle part, and we're doing everything that we can to make sure that we can play as consistently well as possible throughout the whole season, and again, bring the football back to the stadiums and showcase that for everyone, firstly in Mumbai, and then to get around the country and engage with all the football fans around the country. Honestly, I can't wait.
I think it will be an absolutely amazing experience for you when you go around the country, because the way people behave in different stadiums and how football is seen in different stadiums. And if possible, I don't know if you can do this because you'll be traveling so much, right? If possible, you go watch these smaller football tournaments, like in the Northeast or the Sevens tournament in Kerala and stuff. I think it will be good entertainment for you, at least. I don't know if you can travel and stuff.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward and getting out. I'm looking forward to getting out and experience India for what I know India can be. I've only seen it through a car window, literally, for the last 6 or 7 months. So to be able to get out and experience it properly, I'm really looking forward to it.
Okay, when you're in Bangalore, we'll hope we can catch up in face-to-face, not like this again.
Yes, I look forward to it.
Yes. Okay. Thank you so much, Des. Thanks a lot for your time and for doing this now in between your that too.
Pleasure, Sandeep. Anytime, no problem. Okay.